Sure. I'm Sean Ade, and I'm the director of our master's program in Media and Strategic Communication here at GW.
Awesome. And my name is Anna Camp, and I am the Senior Student Services Specialist. Oh my gosh, I just forgot my title after being gone in December. And I assist Sean in management of the program, as well as our admissions, and do a lot of work with our current students. So very excited to have you all here with us. Sean's going to take us through kind of the first half of our slides, and then I'll take over to get into the nitty-gritty of the application. But I'll let Sean take it away.
Great. Okay, so first of all, thanks for joining us today. We're really excited to have you considering our program. We know this is a big decision, so I want to give you as much information as we can today about the program and answer any questions you have, obviously. This is a great time to be studying strategic communication, kind of always is a great time to be doing that. But there's a lot of ways in which you could apply this kind of degree and these skills, as we'll discuss today. And this is a great place to do it in Washington, D.C., right down the street from the White House and the State Department and all of the lobbying firms and public relations firms, et cetera. So a really exciting time to be here. And our program is designed to really sort of leverage our location, but also the kind of faculty we have, the interests of our students, and all that. I hope that becomes clear today. So what do you do here? So basically, the goal of this program is to help you, as you see here, learn how to use communication, by which we mean mostly mass media communication, but to advocate, to achieve goals. If you're in an organization, it could be politics, it could be advocacy, it could be public information campaigns, that sort of thing. How to understand public opinion, how it works, how media effects work, what kind of media work best with which audiences, how to structure a message for a particular audience that will be most effective at getting the outcome you want, that sort of thing. We do have sort of basic data analysis skills that someone would need to be able to understand research or understand public opinion data, research data, that sort of thing. Maybe even conduct some of that research or do that kind of polling or internal research. But as we'll talk about more in a second, this isn't, a program that is data analytic heavy. It kind of gives you what you need to know to sort of do that type of work at a basic level, and allows you the opportunity to go more in depth if you want to. Okay, so the curriculum is designed so that to really allow you to do what you want to do when you come here. GW is a great school in a lot of different ways. And so a master's only program is an opportunity to come and learn, sort of the basics of, in this case, strategic communication, but to apply it in whatever way best suits your particular needs. And everybody's a little different. And so what we do is we design our program so you have core classes that you take in our department. And those are 5 classes that everybody's going to have to take at some point while they're here. And that gives you sort of the grounding in strategic communication. But then after that, you really build the curriculum, the program that you want for what you're most interested in, what you think you might be doing when you leave here, that sort of thing. And for that, you can take skills classes. We require a couple of skills classes, which are short courses that take about half a semester each. You take 2 of them, and we have a whole variety of skills classes, speech writing, opinion writing, a lot of other types of things, frankly, digital communication, some production type classes, things like that, video production or something. So there's a lot of opportunities with the skills classes to really hone in on something that has an applied value to you. But also with the electives, there's an opportunity to take classes, whether they're in our department or somewhere else at the graduate level at the university. So I want to really encourage you to understand and think about the fact that when you come to our program, you're coming to GW, not just the School of Media and Public Affairs. So you have an opportunity to look at political science or the School of International Relations, Elliott School of International Relations, or the School of Public Health or American Studies, or whatever other types of programs that are here at GW that might be of interest to you, and take your electives there as well. So you have this sort of hub in SMPA with your core classes, but outside of that, you can really build a curriculum around what your own interests are. At the end of your second year, basically during your second year, if you're on a normal 2-year schedule, we'll talk about that more in a second, you would take a 2-sequence capstone project, which we will describe more in just a second. But those are sort of an opportunity to be a culmination of your experience here, where you really get to dive into some sort of project. Okay, we've also recently just added a climate and sustainability track within our master's program. So sort of, you can think of it as like a minor at the graduate level. Again, this is something that is university-wide, so it's sort of, you are obviously doing it here. We have a class here that you will take, but there are opportunities to take classes around the university that relate to climate and sustainability in some way. This is a topic that is very important at GW. We have a new Alliance for Sustainable Communication and other types of things that is really taking off right now. It's only a couple years old. But GW has been emphasizing climate and sustainability, education, research, et cetera, for at least 10 or 15 years at this point, as sort of a formal emphasis at the university. So this is something that really a lot of departments here at GW are taking seriously, and we're one of them. So really want you to think about this. If these are issues that might be interesting to you, how do we understand, for instance, climate misinformation? How do we get around climate information? How do we cure climate misinformation? That's one way you might think of it. How do we think about climate policy and the way to use communication to get policymakers to think differently about climate issues, or to get the public to think differently about climate issues? If you go work for a advocacy organization, for instance, you'll have an agenda, a policy agenda probably. But that requires understanding how policymakers work, but also how the public works. So I want you to really think about sustainability as a possible track that you might explore. We have information on it on our website. Okay, the capstone courses I was describing a minute ago. So there are 3 options here. You have a media project, strategic communication project, and a thesis project. So as I said before, these are sort of culminating, in-depth projects that you will do the last 2 semesters that you're here. Okay, so a media project can be a variety of things, but they'd be things like you might develop a podcast series, or you might do a short documentary, or even a longer documentary for that matter. You'll work in each of these cases, and for each of the types of capstone projects, you work closely with a faculty advisor who will direct that project and allow you to develop whatever idea you have. You come up with the idea yourself, not the faculty member, but they help guide you through that process. You usually work with a second faculty member from somewhere at the university as well, maybe in our department, maybe elsewhere. So that's the media project. I'll take these a little out of order here. The thesis project is, traditional master's thesis. So this is a work of in-depth original research. You come up with a research question, you do an extensive literature review, and then you conduct your own original study. It could be quantitative or qualitative. It could be focus groups. It could be, collecting original data from a content analysis. It could be doing a survey. There's a lot of different ways in which one might do a thesis. The kind of people that generally do a thesis most often are people that think they might be interested somewhere down the road, or maybe even immediately after they leave here, in doing a PhD. And they want to get a sense of, okay, a PhD is a doctoral dissertation. That's like writing a book. Is that really something am I really interested in research at that level? This is a good way to sort of test the waters of that. But I also want to encourage you to think about a thesis as something that doesn't have to be just because you want to get a PhD someday. I've had people do theses just because they really just found a topic that they're interested in and want to sink their teeth into, and they want to do some in-depth research. And the skills you gain by doing a master's thesis are broadly applicable beyond just the academic world. There's a lot of opportunities to do that type of work, think tanks, other types of advocacy organizations, public affairs firms, even in some cases. So understanding how research works and how to do it is important in a variety of ways. So that's a possibility as well. The media project and the thesis research project are not the most common of our capstone options in terms of what people choose to do. By far and away, the most common is the strategic communication project. And for that, what you will do in that final semester is you will develop a strategic communication plan. And that can be for a hypothetical organization, it can be for a real organization that you do or do not work for, maybe you want to work for, or maybe you're just you know that you want to think about, well, what would the Sierra Club, what would be a good plan for the Sierra Club to implement to achieve the following goal. So something like that. And this is a really extensive type of project in which you will have a budget, you'll have a target audience, you'll have a media strategy, et cetera. And you'll work closely with a faculty member to help sort of guide that project for you. In all three of these cases, you're coming out with a deliverable product that you can show off when you go on the job market, in addition to developing skills that will be useful when you're out on the job market. So recent capstone projects, you see here that you can tell just by glancing at this that there are a variety of different options. There's no sort of, it's not like a cookie cutter thing where we have, preset ideas for what you do. They really come from the students themselves. These are student generated. That's great, by the way, because it means you're doing what it is that you are interested in doing. It's not like we give you a topic. And you can see how applied they are, how they allow you to have something that not only allows you to show off the skills you've learned here, develop new skills, sort of hone them, but also show a potential employer, I know how to do this. And I'm thinking creatively and originally and that sort of thing. So one of the most common questions we get is, of course, well, what do your alumni do? Where do they go work? What kinds of jobs do they get? Again, kind of like the theses or the capstone projects, I guess. You'll see there's a lot of variety here. So people go do a lot of different things. You'll notice something like, let's say NBC News or MSNBC or something like that here. So we do have people who leave here and go into the journalism world in a variety of different ways. Might be specialty journalism, more like in this case, NBC News, more traditional or something like that. I do want to caution that we are not a journalism program. Sometimes that can be confusing because at the undergrad level, we have a journalism program at SNPA. But we don't do that at the graduate level. And so if you're looking for a traditional sort of journalism school, journalism education, that wouldn't be here. However, the kinds of skills people get here in communication, understanding media effects, understanding how to read research, understanding how advocacy works, how policymaking works, et cetera, all of that sort of stuff. Some of our students have found that useful for their journalism careers later on. One of our alumni, for instance, is the editor at Vox, for instance, among many examples I can think of. However, what you'll see here is that most people leave here and they do work in public affairs. I've mentioned advocacy a number of times. That refers to things like the Sierra Club, which I mentioned a minute ago, but it could be any organization that does the kind of work where you're trying to affect change in some way or get people to think a certain way or affect policy or behavior. But public affairs, politics in sort of a traditional sense, and advocacy, I would say, are sort of the main types of things that people do when they leave here. But really, strategic communication skills are, as I said, broadly applicable. So there's no really sort of one or two set sort of career paths. Is this where you take over?
There we go. Always have to struggle to find the unmute button for some reason. But yes, I'll take over from here. And then towards the end, I did forget to mention we'll be hanging around to answer your questions. But looking ahead to our upcoming application deadlines. So right now our applications are open for fall 2025. It's crazy, it's already here. So we do have two primary deadlines to keep in mind. Applying by February 1 will allow you to be considered for any fellowships or financial aid or awards that we have available. That is not to say that if you submit after that February 1, we won't have any funding available, but it is kind of a first come, first serve basis. And if that's something that's truly important to you to be considered for all that we have available, please apply by that February 1 deadline. But then we'll take admits for fall all the way up till April 1, sometimes even after that, but those are the two primary deadlines to keep in mind. And if you're kind of an early bird thinking ahead already to spring 2026, our regular admission window is just October 1. We do still consider students for financial aid for spring admins, but it's just kind of on a case by case basis. Fall semester is really when we have our largest pool of funding to pull from, apologies. So just keep those in mind for me. There we go. Okay. So kind of diving into a little bit of what we have to offer. So SMPA is really special because we are, I believe, one of the only grad programs in the College of Arts and Sciences that has these fully funded graduate assistantships. So that's very, very exciting. But please keep in mind, we only can offer two each semester, each fall. So two available each fall incoming class. These graduate assistant packages cover the full cost of tuition, plus a stipend and a salary. And then as a result, you'll have the opportunity to work with a faculty member either on teaching or research. And again, if you would really like to be considered for this, please apply by February 1. And if there's something maybe that you think really lends itself to you being considered to this is something we can talk about including in your statement of purpose. We'll go over that a little bit later. But as long as you apply by February 1, you will be in that pool to be considered. There's no additional application or check mark that you need to do on the application itself. All right, just so you know, we also give out a lot of other smaller partial awards. These include all of the ones listed on the screen. To learn more, I would really encourage you to go look at the Columbian College of Arts and Sciences funding pages. They have a lot of great details on who are eligible for these awards and what you may need to consider when hoping to get them. These all are only partial awards, so if you're awarded these, you will need to be prepared to come up with the remaining of tuition, but we do try to give out a lot of partial awards as well as our graduate assistantships. All right, so something exciting. We are a GRE optional program. If you, however, have taken it, maybe you're applying to multiple programs and you needed to take it for whatever reason, and you have a test score you're particularly proud of, please go ahead and submit it. We'd be happy to take a look at it. I know the committee and Sean would be interested, but it is not required. For our international students, we do require a test of English as a foreign language. As you can see, all the options are on the screen for you. If you have questions about this, feel free to drop them in the chat or send us an email to the emails I'll show at the end, and we'll point you in the right direction to get more information on those test score requirements. And then kind of thinking of what you need to be thinking about submitting. We do require at least one letter of recommendation. More than one is preferred, so 2 to 3. I wouldn't do more than 3, but having more than one really allows the committee to get a full picture of your experiences, who you are, all of that. So please submit at least one, but aiming for 2 or 3 is what we recommend. We also do require all academic records. These can be unofficial reports. They do not need to be like official transcripts, but we do need to see them from anywhere you completed college credit. So if maybe you got an associate's degree somewhere else and then completed your full bachelor's degree at a different institution, please make sure you submit all the pieces of that for us. But unofficial, again, is acceptable. All right, and I'll also have Sean probably pop in here to kind of make sure I don't miss anything. But I would say this is probably the most important piece of the application is our statement of purpose. It's usually anywhere from about 250 to 500 words. And this is where you really kind of need to pitch yourself and explain why this program in particular is the right choice for you, given your experiences, what your future goals are, what you hope to learn. We understand that graduate school is quite an expensive undertaking. You're also kind of pausing your whole life to do something different for a few years. So we understand that, and we want to make sure you're going to be able to learn the things that you expect to when undertaking a grad program. So this is where you can include your academic goals, your professional goals, any research interests, any previous experience that's not fully outlined on a resume that you might want to go into further depth for us. And any teaching experience is also relevant if you're interested in being considered for a graduate assistant. Sean, anything else that I left out?
Just to reiterate that we do take this very seriously. This is, as Anna said, the most important part of the application in many ways. One of the things that Anna said that I think is really important is that this is the opportunity to tell us why you want to come here. So just to elaborate on that, there are a number of graduate programs that you're probably applying to and that you're considering and that do something vaguely similar to what we do. You're usually a little different in some way, but so why do you want to come here? And I want to kind of point out that the reason we want to know that is because we want to make sure we're giving you what you need. In the most extreme case, which does happen sometimes, I mentioned earlier that we're not a journalism program. So sometimes people get confused and they apply, and it's pretty obvious in the letter that they are coming here because they think we're a journalism program and they want a journalism program. So we're not going to accept that person because that wouldn't be fair, right, to them. That we would be taking their money but not giving them what they need. So that's the extreme version. But in a more common version, we just want to know that there is a reason you're coming here, that we can provide you what you're looking for. So let us know what you've done, as Anna said, but also what you're thinking about doing when you leave. That doesn't mean you have to have a clear plan of what you want to do in 2 years, but it does mean that if you tell us, yeah, I'm vaguely interested in these types of things, I want to learn this type of stuff, I see you guys kind of emphasize this type of work, misinformation or something like that. I want to work with these people, maybe, that sort of thing lets us go, okay, we definitely do the thing that that person is looking for, or the sort of body of things that that person is looking for, or we don't. And so this is really a good opportunity. It's not just about getting accepted. I know that's important to you, and that I do get that, but it's also about making sure it's the right fit. You do not want to waste 2 years and all that money on the wrong program, and we don't want you to either. So this is really a great place to let us know that.
Great. So I just want to flash our information up on the screen for everybody. Obviously, we're going to be prepared to answer some questions for the next little bit, but if you feel more comfortable maybe reaching out over email or setting up an appointment with either myself or Sean, we'd be happy to do that. This is where you can reach us, and we'd be happy to talk further, maybe something a little more in depth if you have further questions or you want to learn more about the curriculum side of things. We'd be happy to help facilitate that.
One thing I'd say before we go to the Q&A that I guess I neglected to mention earlier is I think it's important to point out that this is a program that's just about everybody, if not everybody that comes here is working. They have a full-time job or at least a part-time job during the day. So our classes are pretty much all at night. And the only ones that aren't at night are some random electives that occasionally aren't. But pretty much all classes are at night, and that's because everybody's working during the day. And so a couple things about that. One, it means that we are accommodating to your needs in terms of finding jobs and that sort of thing. But it also means everybody's in the same boat. So yes, you're going to be a little tired at night when you come to class and that sort of thing. But everybody is, and the faculty know that. We also know that sometimes work things come up and you have to travel for work, or you have some big, project that has a crashing deadline at the same time that your midterms do or something. So as long as you let your faculty know, your professors know, in advance, by the way, I've got this thing coming up, or I'm going to be out of town or something like that, we can make accommodations. We completely understand that's the reality for our students. And so we do try and be very flexible about working around your work schedule. So I think that's important. And the other thing that I sort of alluded to at the beginning, but I didn't quite get to, is that it is a 2-year program, but not everybody does it in 2 years. So it's pretty common. It's not necessarily everybody, but it's pretty common for people to go part-time, take 2 classes instead of 3 classes. 3 is the normal. A semester, let's say, take 2.5 to 3 years to finish. Technically, I think you have 5, but that's really rare. But 2.5 to 3 is not rare. So that's another thing to think about when you're thinking about coming here.
All right, thank you, Sean.